what makes for the most successful teachers, CEOs, managers, right? You name the profession or the role, and it's probably likely that we've studied it. And in simple terms, the most successful people all have one thing in common, and that is that they focused on their strengths as opposed to their weaknesses. So talent is like a fingerprint. Every one of us has a very unique talent signature. And the question is not whether people have talent, that's a given. Everybody has talent. It's how you use that and whether you apply that every day. So in simple terms, people who become successful in whatever it is they want to do, they say they have a chance to do what they're best at every day. Not once a week, not once a month, every day. So our research on strengths-based development has helped a lot of people, leaders, teachers, students alike, think about what their natural talents are, what their strengths are, instead of focusing on their weaknesses, instead of focusing on what's wrong with people. If you focus on your strengths, there's no limit to your development. If you focus on your weaknesses, at best, you can become average at those things that you're not necessarily naturally talented around. So I think it has a lot of applicability, not just for students and their success in school, but the ultimate trajectory we're trying to put them on, which is to become happy, healthy, successful adults, because that's ultimately what we're aiming at. And so certainly even thinking about that through the lens of teachers teaching with their strengths, understanding the strengths of students, I think that's a strong motivational pathway for people to succeed at whatever it is they decide they want to do. We all have a choice. Every morning we can either wake up and look at ourselves and other people and think of it through a deficit-based lens. What's wrong with me? What's wrong with them? And that, unfortunately, was where humans naturally default. And so you think of examples of this and you say, what's the first thing you do when a kid comes home with their report card? We've actually done studies on this, so we know about this, but most parents will look at a report card and say there's an A, 2 Bs, and a C minus, and the very first thing they do, the natural instinct, is to have a big conversation about the C minus and to sit down and go through that in a very painful way with their child, right? And what we miss is the opportunity to understand about the A, because clearly something was going on very different there, right? They were interested in that, they were engaged, it was something that they might have actually been more talented in, right? And so you miss that opportunity to focus on what's strong about that student by immediately going to the worst grade on the report card. And so we default like that as parents. We do that to ourselves, right, as students and as we grow up. And so if we can force ourselves conscientiously to think about what's really going right here, not just what's not going very well, that's the path to human development. We shared results from our Gallup student poll, which measured the hope, engagement, and well-being of nearly 1 million 5th through 12th graders in the U.S. And at a very simple level, we learned that the longer they're in school, the less engaged they are. So if we were doing this right, that line ought to be going in the opposite direction. So we clearly have a lot of work and motivation around that. And on teacher engagement, which if you were to ask Gallup a simple question, what's the number one driver of student engagement? It's very simply an engaged teacher. And so if we care about student engagement, we have to care about teacher engagement. And one of the big, very painful findings that we learned about teacher engagement is that they're dead last of all professions in the United States in feeling that their opinions at work count. I would just make sure that if I was a school district leader, that I was the Silicon Valley of great principals. I would find the most talented principals in the world. I would recruit them to my district, and I would make sure that they're motivated and rewarded for inspiring the teachers in that building. Because if they do a good job with teacher engagement, the student engagement happens through the teachers. So my magic wand is a simple one. It's just human capital. It's human talent, and no more important than at the principal leadership level. We've spent nearly 80 years asking tens of thousands of questions of tens of millions of people. And if you were to whittle it all down and say, what are the most important questions in the world, there's 2 that are most important for your success as a student, as an adult, in work, in life, in family, however you want to view it, right? These 2 things are most fundamental to your development. One is whether you strongly agree that you have someone who encourages your development. A teacher, a parent, a mentor, right? Someone who is encouraging your development. And the second one is whether you say you have a chance to do what you're best at each day. If you can say strongly agree to both of those, you're in a fantastic place, right? Don't ever leave that place. If you can't, that's okay. Interestingly enough, only 30% of the adults in the United States say they have a chance to do what they're best at each day. So there's a lot of missed opportunity. But if you can't say strongly agree to those, work to get yourself to a place where that is true, right? And so this is very much about your own self-efficacy in this process as much as it is about parents and teachers and schools supporting you. It goes both ways. But if you just focus on those two things, you can never go wrong. If you're in a place where you always have someone who encourages your development and where you have a chance to do what you're best at each day, that is literally the secret to success according to Gallup research.